what point in your life did you realize that path was linked with your spiritual or sacred or powerful light?
I'd been interested from a young age of trying to understand what the mysteries of the universe was or are, and wondering what else is there. Is there anything else? So started to become interested in yoga, in kind of Eastern philosophy, and then when I was about 30, I was working in India, and I went to a place called Rishikesh and did some yoga retreats and enjoyed that, but didn't quite touch me as much as I wanted to, felt it, and someone recommended that I go to a place called MacLeod Ganj in India, where the Tibetans in exiles are based, and to do a retreat there. And I did a retreat on the introduction to Buddhism for 10 days. And as soon as I touched those teachings, I felt immediately that this was my path, was the
Yeah,
Buddhist path.
that was then was what is the basement of that faith when you find it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you consider is the basement? What is the foundation of that faith?
The foundation. So I think the one of the first things that struck me was their ability to explain to me and to give me the tools to reflect on how my mind worked and to reflect on what the nature of the existence is. So, when the Buddha came and gave his first teachings, he gave the teachings of kind of the Four Noble Truths, which allows us to reflect on what the nature of reality is, the nature of our existence. So, is the truth of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering, and the cause of suffering, and the truth that there's a path to finish that suffering, which is the base of it is taking refuge in the Buddha, the Buddhist teachings, and in the community with a view to becoming enlightened. Where an enlightened being in Buddhism is a being who has ultimate altruism. We call it bodhicitta. And this is having unlimited love for all sentient beings. So that is one basis. And then that is married together with viewing reality as it is empty of inherent nature. So those two things are married together. The emptiness, viewing reality as it is what liberates us from the suffering, what liberates us from being caught up in the world of desire, of fear, of material. And then the bodhicitta is the illuminating factor which connects us to all beings unconditionally.
For the people who never had a spiritual experience, yeah, people who doesn't know nothing, how you describe your feeling to connect with something, with the something higher, with the spirituality, with the
Yeah, it's very liberating because we get caught up in very mundane thoughts and activities day to day. From the moment I wake up, I'm thinking about what do I need? Do I need to have a shower? I'm hungry. I'm caught up. I need to go to work. I'm caught up in all the little things within my mind and my body, serving my desires, worried about different things. And this is a very small type of mind that I have in this day-to-day life. But then when I connect with the spiritual aspect, it expands my perception. It liberates me from this. It brings much peace and comfort. And then you start to think outwardly towards realizing that we are all in this experience together as one family. And so it can provide a sense of great peace, of an opening energetically within the heart, and an acceptance of life and an acceptance of others. So, yeah, I'd say peace is kind of one of the main things. Yeah.
Then acceptance is connected with the peace. When you
Yeah.
accept everything, you feel peace.
Yeah.
That is really good. The name of our project is Discovering Invisible Threads. What is the first thing you think when you hear that?
I think of it from obviously from a Buddhist perspective, where we talk about karma and we talk about karmic connections with people and with things, with places. So whenever we have an interaction with someone or our thoughts go somewhere, it creates a connection, and maybe from life to life, we're meeting people again who we have connections with from previous lives, because we had a connection with them then that connection is strong. And even in I think about quantum physics, where we have a look at where particles become entangled, and you could have one particle which becomes entangled with another particle, and they can be on two different sides of the solar system, and if you affect one, the other one becomes affected instantaneously. And ultimately, we've all interacted with each other throughout beginningless time. So there are all these threads which are going out, which are connected, the connections.
From the perspective of your faith, what happened with the human energy when the spirit leave the physical world?
Yeah, so Buddhism, we believe that there's the mind energy, which is it's like any energy, like in the laws of physics, energy cannot be destroyed. So the mind energy is the same; it cannot be destroyed. So it moves on according to its karma, according to the energy it has at the time of when it leaves the body. So when the physical stops working, the mind is then propelled, dependent on what your karma is and depending on what your karma is at the time, into another lifetime. There's realized beings who have great control and great focus and concentration, who can control where their mind is going. So it's important for us to generate positive energy, especially at the time of death, to have a peaceful environment, calm environment, to be feeling loving and positive, so that our mind is then projected positively into the next realm or existence.
Why do you think humanity is so afraid about the unknown or the things they cannot see?
I think one of the things about this is that we are generally scared of the unknown. We're scared of change, and so I was talking about before about having a level of acceptance. And we want to control things because we're living with fear. We don't want to have suffering. We don't want to experience things which we don't want. And if we feel a level of security within our bodies in certain things, then it can be scary to contemplate that unknown. I mean, for myself, I still, when I go into certain states, I still feel fear because I don't know what's going to come next. I don't know if I'm going to be experiencing suffering, and also I'm so attached to my existence. I'm so attached to my body, to my life. I find it very scary at the concept of losing this body, of losing this life, of moving into something else and what it's going to be. Because currently for myself, I don't know where I'm going to go or what's going to happen. So it's frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the most common misconception or misunderstanding from the general people about your practice of Buddhism? Because many people don't have any idea. They just watch a picture and they are not sure what are you doing.
Mm, mm.
When the people talk to you and they ask you about your tradition, your faith, your
Yeah, yeah. I think several I've come across. I mean, one is that Buddhism is just mindfulness. And really, mindfulness is part of the Buddhist practice, but it's a tool. It's a tool for allowing your mind to be able to focus in on developing good qualities, love and compassion, patience, an understanding of reality. So mindfulness is just the tool, it's not so much the religion. And the other one I say is people think of Buddhism, a lot of people say it's just a way of life. And it is a way of life. It's really important because, in Buddhism, the way of life has to be an ethical way of life. Otherwise, what's the point?
yeah.
You just keep on going around. So it's really important, but it goes beyond the way of life. There's an active practice we're going into to develop those qualities to ultimately become enlightened.
What do you say to someone who is completely skeptical? Yeah, when you meet someone and they don't believe in nothing, what do you suggest to do with that people? You invite them to see your way of life, or you don't?
Yeah, there's two elements to this. For myself, um, one is that it's not for me to control what other people think. It's not for me to persuade other people. I can just provide my sense of experience, and um, if through my practice people can see a change, a positive change in me, and some positive characteristics, then maybe they'll be inspired. But, that's the most important. If I am not becoming the best person I can be to set an example, then there's no inspiration
Yeah.
there. So really, I have to let other people go and do what they want to do. I don't want to control and force anyone to try and persuade them. The second is, I hear a lot of people, and myself included, previously become kind of the religion is science. So I try to explain it in, a scientific way. Is that this is a scientific practice, and the same as in science, where actually we trust that aeroplanes go up in the air. We don't understand all the physical laws behind it. We trust that nuclear power stations work, but we're not rocket scientists or anything like this. But we trust the scientists, and they show that it works. And in science, they conduct experiments, which you show if you follow a certain process, you'll have a certain outcome. But in spirituality and Buddhism, the scientists are the practitioners. And so the monks, the enlightened beings, they have gone through a methodology to have these experiences. And then they are showing you this methodology. And if you start following that methodology, then you start to realize that you have those experiences also. And there are lots of people who've had it. So there is a science behind it. So it would be unscientific to state that all these people are doing these things and having these experiences, but it's not true. Without yourself trying it, because there's a huge body of evidence that there is a non-physical existence, a spiritual world. So if you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. You don't have to believe. The Buddha said, don't believe what I tell you. This is just my experience. But I invite you to try. And you test it and you try with skepticism, and if it works for you, it works for you. Then you can believe. But try it yourself first before you make a decision.
It's always good to know. In a world where so many religions and faiths crossing, Um, do you think the people are looking for the same source of light? They need to believe in something?
Mm, good question. I think first of all, like there are lots of different religions for different purposes and different minds, suited to different cultures. And the Buddha, he gave lots and lots of different teachings, like 82,000 teachings, and they were all different for different people, depending on their mind. But one thing which I think is common for all religions is love. And ultimately
Yeah.
about having a good heart, an expansive heart, which is open to all people. I think that's the key fundamental facet.
Amazing. It's a famous phrase what they say, what is essential is invisible to the eyes. What do you think about that phrase in the blindness society today?
What is essential?
Yeah. What is essential is invisible to your eyes. It's a famous
Yeah.
phrase. Now, what would you say is the greatest blindness in today's society?
I think the greatest blindness is not realizing we're asleep. That really this is a dream. It's like when we're at nighttime and we're sleeping and we're in a dream and we think things are real, and then we wake up and then we realize, okay, it wasn't real. It was just a dream. I think this is what we're living. This is how we're living. We're not aware. We're not conscious. So with that lack of understanding that we are living within an illusion, it doesn't motivate us to do our spiritual practice. We need to continuously remember that we are in a dream state, and we need to wake up for our true, so that we can be truly happy and truly liberated. Otherwise, we are stuck inside this dream with all the experiences which are causing ourselves suffering and other people suffering.
Yeah. If you could help to the entire audience understand just one truth about the spiritual world, what would it be? It's really similar.
Yeah, I'd say foundation of developing presence. Sit presently, try to do everything presently to develop our awareness. Because without the presence, without that awareness, we actually are never here. We are never existence. We're always lost in a deeper dream state of the past, the future, or an imagination. Have to become present. So then we also know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing things, what we're saying, why we're saying things, with the right motivation.
Amazing. What is that personally give you peace when you think about the future or transcendental moments? What practice you do to have peace?
To have peace, I think in any type of meditative practice, which I do, like I said before, presence, sitting in stillness helps me develop greater acceptance. In that state, I can view whatever's happening in my life. If I may perceive something as something difficult which is happening in my life, if I can sit in presence and just view it from a non-judgmental point of view with acceptance, it's all okay. All the problems dissolve away. It just goes.
Then it's the acceptance and change the point of view to become on peace.
Change the point of view. So to look at any problem I have, if I look at it directly in the eye, directly in the eye. So, recently, for example, my father was very, very ill. And I have lots of emotions coming up: fear, sadness, anxiety. But when I sit down and I just look at all those emotions, because all that suffering, all the things which cause us peace, is our mind's reaction to whatever the external factor is. So when I look at those emotions directly in the eye, the fear, and I see them for what they are merely an arising phenomenon within my mind, which I am labeling, and then I am attributing some significance to them. So I have this fear come up, and I look at it in the eye, and then I think, I don't want the fear. Then I look it in the eye and think, okay, this is just a feeling, it's just a thought. It's nothing. I'm just telling myself I don't want it or it's bad. And it goes away. It's all part of the illusion.
If you have the opportunity to leave a recorded message for future generations about the mystery of existence, what would you say to them?
I'd say, don't be too concerned about figuring out everything from the mind. Try and escape the logical mind. It's called it's a mystery for a reason. Because come to your heart. Live with your heart. Live with love and live with compassion in that presence there. And that will guide you through the mystery.
Amazing. To conclude, if you have to describe your mission in this life using a single word or a single sentence.
To develop bodhicitta and the mind's experiencing non-duality. That's the Buddhist path. Is to develop that ultimate altruism and love for all beings and seeing reality as it is. I'd say the most important thing I've learned is to develop a disciplined practice every day, always working and always keeping faith in myself, despite how difficult it can be and how sometimes slow I can feel my own progress is, and how I can still feel frustrated by my lack of development of my qualities. When I find good spiritual teachers, and it's important to find good spiritual teachers who you can see have walked the path, so important, then it provides me with inspiration. But I can't emphasize enough in this world now where there are so many things online, so many different teachers coming up everywhere, that we must be able to discern and really study a teacher, not just go for anyone who comes along. Really observe, how are they living? Are they really following a pure spiritual path? Do they have ego? Are they boasting about their own spiritual realizations, about those things which can be a red flag? Or are they humble? Are they actually renouncing this mundane life, which is leading us from suffering to suffering? Or are they embracing it? So, yeah, I think that is really key foundation to going on the spiritual path, because if we have the wrong teacher, they'll take us down the wrong road. And that we can't be arrogant in thinking that we can do this ourselves, because if we have a guide, like if we walk into the forests by ourselves, we get lost forever. The chances of us getting through, but if we find someone who knows the forest, who has walked the paths there, they can guide us very skillfully and carefully through that forest.